Hi, everyone. Good evening to all of you, and thank you very much for joining us on a Saturday evening. So today, as you know, that we have Deepak with us, who's going to take your session. And Deepak is a highly committed professional with a progressive experience of around 11 years of IT experience and 10 years in MS Dynamic 6 365 FO stack projects. He is Microsoft certified solution expert for business application with a track record of successful implementation in the industry domains. Today he would be uh, talking to you about DevOps for Dynamic 365, and I, I really request all of you to be there, be attentive, listen to him, ask as many questions as you want to, put them in the chat. We would be addressing all the questions, and I won't take much of your time, and I'm handing over the virtual mic and stage to Deepak. Right, over to you, Deepak.
Thank you so much, Anamika, and thanks everyone for waiting for this session. I appreciate your time. And just a quick check, Anamika. I'm audible perfectly, and my screen is visible to everyone.
It is.
Okay, great. So let's start. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are sitting around the globe. A very warm welcome in today's session. I will be your host and host for next around 45 minutes, where we are going to discuss on what is Azure DevOps in terms of Dynamics 365 financial operations. The level of this session would be a beginner level, considering the audience mostly around the students and working few of working professionals. So I'll try to keep my language as normal as I can, but forgive me if you found some typical business language. I'll try to keep that decoded for you. So today, where's my mouse? Okay, just with me. Okay, so the agenda for today's session is around what is Azure DevOps. So definitely, when I'm saying Azure DevOps, I'll try to give you first what is Azure, then separately what is DevOps. When they both come together, what is Azure DevOps? Second, we'll see what are the different services that comes as a part of Azure DevOps. And next, we'll see in a project how typical journey we can consider what are the different phases, what are the most critical benefits of Azure DevOps. And the next, GitHub, I believe many of us are aware how Azure GitHub, not Azure GitHub, GitHub works as a code versioning. And when it comes to ERP, which I stated earlier, Dynamics 365, that is a Microsoft ERP, similar to Oracle and SAP. So, as Git is the most popular version controlling, if you are not part of any ERP, then Git is also highly integrated with Azure DevOps. And towards the end, I give a quick walkthrough on how DevOps look like, what are the different screens, a quick sneak peek around the navigation part, and we also will see how the repos and the different Azure's DevOps services look like. As a part of this session, you can definitely expect what is Azure, what is Azure DevOps, and how to configure your project with Azure DevOps and how to plan different phases. You will get a high level of idea overview around that. You will also understand how to use source control, whether in terms of ERP or any non-ERP projects. And I will also touch base on how you can design your release strategy when it comes to code release planning, promote your code from UAT to production. Okay, so let's first understand what is Azure. So I assume most of you are aware about Google Cloud provider, AWS, Amazon Web Services. So Azure is a cloud solution platform offered by Microsoft with a lot of different services, very similar to AWS and GCP, Google Cloud provider. Azure is available almost in 54 regions over the globe, and 140 countries with nearly around 200 different services available in it. So let's see what is DevOps first. So DevOps normally we stands for development and operation. It's a combination of practice and tools designed to increase an organization's ability to deliver application and services faster than traditional software development. Now, when it combined with the Azure, it becomes much more productive with speed, rapid delivery, reliability, improved collaboration, and security. Azure DevOps has everything which you need to turn your idea into a working piece of software. What that means is it will provide a great tool set of tools to put your idea there and there and work collaboratively with your team members, plan your project using agile tools, predefined set of items, which helps a team working in a connected and integrated mode than traditional silos mode. While a developer can use repo, which is a tool of DevOps, to version your code using VSTS, which is Visual Studio Team Foundation Service, and Git. Now, this is typical a cycle how different part of it works and how it helps any team to deliver a seamless solution to any industry. So there are four different phases of a project life cycle. You plan, you develop it, you deliver it, and finally you operate it. So in the plan phase, you define your teams, DevOps team, define and describe a lot of features there. You can track your progress, you create backlogs, you create development items, you see your dashboards, real-time interactive dashboards are there available there, which helps to get a real-time picture of your project. Develop where multiple people can work together without any kind of traditional silos theory. So even if there are multiple people working on their own machine, they are still connected using check-in check-outs of the code. So you check in your code, any working piece of code, you can do a check-in that will be immediately available for your team where they can get that code and work on the remaining part of your development. So collaborating team across the platform, which breaking down the silos between different teams, is primary benefit of DevOps adoption. It supports CI/CD, which is basically continuous integration and continuous delivery. What that means is, even if there are multiple developers are working on one solution, the code is always integrated to a single machine where it helps to detect your any issue at a very early state. Similarly, once the code is ready, that can be promoted to UAT, user acceptance tests, and production to operate. And this entire cycle can be called as sprint. Sprint is a project methodology where you define your entire product cycle into different sprints. Okay, so these are the different components or services of Azure DevOps. So first, Azure Board, which boost your team's productivity with Kanban boards, backlogs, and sprints for even most complex projects. You can simply connect your VSTS or GitHub repos to Azure Board and start linking commit and PRs to work item. What that means is whatever development items are going on, they can be at real time. You can see them on Azure boards. Azure boards is an interactive API where you can drag and drop a lot of different kind of graphs, graphical representation of your project. This tool is really helpful the managers where they can track, assign, and communicate with the other team members. Next, Azure pipelines. So when we are delivering a solution, as I mentioned previously, continuous integration and continuous delivery, CI/CD. So Azure pipelines helps to automate your builds and deployment, so you spend less time with the nuts and bolts and more time being creative. What that means is, so let's take an example of traditional development where a lot of different people are working on a development on their silos. Towards the end of a certain piece, they merge all of their code and do manual deployment. When I'm saying deployment, that means promoting that code for a testing first. If testing find no bugs, no issues with that, we promote it to the production. You can take an example of any let's say mobile app. You everyone users use Uber for an example. So developer once design the application, first they have to test, right? And then it will go to production and generally available for everyone. So this is a common cycle where I was saying, to move your code from one environment to another environment, Azure pipelines can do that automation very seamlessly, very efficiently. And Azure pipelines can be built on any language, on any platform, whether you name it your Node.js, C, C Sharp, C++, .NET, even the mobile applications. Implement continuous delivery with CD of your software to any cloud, including Azure, AWS, and GCP. It's also free for all the open source. You necessarily not need to be on Microsoft technologies. You can be on any platform where you are using it. Next, Azure Repo. Azure Repo stands for Azure Repository, where you can create multiple branches based on your project need. For an example, if your team is working on a large piece of software, and you can define the teams in the different set of features, they can do their development and do a code check in check out on a separate branches. So by that you are not interrupting other developers, and that makes your code more secure, less error prone. In Azure DevOps, it also version your code, where you can literally keep multiple versions of single code. How that helps? And yeah, along with that, there's absolutely zero chance you lose any of your code. I'll give you an example. So you already committed your working piece of code that was working. Now you are making some further enhancement on that code, and in any case there was something goes wrong, or you can still get the last working version of your code back into your workspace. The next two part, Azure test plans and Azure artifacts, they are just introduction purpose for this session because they comes in a higher level of. But I give you an idea of what they are. So whenever you design a solution, there's a lot of testing involved in it. You may need a dedicated testing team to identify any possible issues, to deliver best solution with less and less issues or bugs. So that's where Azure test plans comes in the picture. It doesn't comes in a base license. You may need a separate license. I don't want to jump on the licensing part for now. But Azure Test Plan works closely with RSET tool, regression testing tool, where you can define your test cases within Azure Test Plans, and they can be automated using RSET tool. right? While Azure artifacts are majorly used when you are moving your deployment package or packaged deployable solution for CI/CD. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, so how a typical DevOps journey may look like. Okay, before I move further, Arpit, another check. I believe there is no interruption in the internet, and my voice and screen are absolutely fine. Arpit, are you there? Not sure if anyone can unmute themselves and speak. I would assume everything is good and fine there. Okay, so a typical journey of Azure DevOps adoption will provide you a continuous integration, continuous delivery, versioning of your code, provide a great extensible tools to manage your project, including monitoring and logging of your application. Let's see one by one how what that means. So continuous integration is primarily related to when there are multiple developers are working and they are dependent codes in each other machines. So you necessarily no need to ask them to get their code and import that code manually in your system. If you are connected with the branch, simply they are going to do is they're going to do checking your code, checking their working piece of code. In case there is any error in their code, for example, they might be missing any reference for their code, okay, or they just missed to add any specific object in their solution while checking their code. System will not allow to commit that change because whatever object set of objects or set of code we are trying to check in, it's not complete. The user, the developer who is compiling it will not get any error because on his or her machine everything is fine, but he is trying to check in with missing objects, missing piece of code there. In that case, system won't allow you to check in and will reduce error by finding it at earlier stage. Now, next, continuous delivery. So let's take a typical example of software development lifecycle where even if the code is ready, there are a lot of activities involved before you promote this code to UAT or production. By using Azure DevOps, as all my working code is already integrated with a single VM, single virtual machine, or single repository of code, that repository is always having a working solution. And with lesser time, I can move this code to a UAT or to a production. By that, my delivery of solution is never interrupted. That's where comes CI/CD or continuous integration, continuous delivery in place. Next, code versioning or version control. So when I talk about Microsoft Dynamics ERP or most of Microsoft solutions, VSTS is available there for code versioning. And if you don't want to use VSTS, Git is also available to integrate with Azure DevOps. It means I believe most of you are aware what is code versioning, right? So code versioning basically give you a platform where you can maintain multiple version of a code, and you can always get the previous working version of that code and continue your further enhancement of that code. It will also create versions of the objects. For an example, there is, let's say, a class which I just developed and tested working fine and checked it. Further, there was more enhancement to do it on it. Then I again checked it. So that will create another version of it. So in future, if I need to see what was the difference in both of the version, that can be done. Even if I want to promote any previous version to the current state, that can be also done. Similarly, it will also help me to figure out the history of the check-ins. How that helps? So, if there are more developers worked on a single object, I can always see the history, who make the last change, and not even the last change, what change made by whom and when. That will, being a technical architect or solution lead, that will also help me to manage all the coding part, all the technical delivery of the solution. Next, project management. So you might be asking, like, so far we discussed everything technically, how this tool may help to a project manager or project management audience. So in the demo walkthrough, I'll show you, we discussed Azure Dashboard, which provides a great interactive tool where, using Kanban boards, a project manager can assign real-time comments, real-time tasks to developers. They will get immediate notification. The entire team can work very closely, and project manager will get a clear picture who is working where, what all bugs are assigned to any solution, what are their status, with a graphical representation of it. That's how it helps project management audience. At the same time, it also helped to monitor and logging my overall project health, where it will give me a clear picture. Either I am lagging behind the timelines, I am leading the timelines, what are the status of different sprints, when my sprints are starting, when it's ending, what all open items are pending against the sprint, what all our bugs are assigned to it, how many hours are spent on a specific solution or specific task. I'll get a very clear picture using Azure DevOps. Next, this slide, why I include this slide? Because I would assume ERP, Microsoft ERP might not be used by everyone, or might not, everyone might not be aware in this call. While GitHub or Git is very common, which most of developers uses in their development time. So GitHub is highly integrated with Azure DevOps, as I was mentioning earlier. Necessarily, you don't need to be on Azure Microsoft technologies to use your Azure DevOps. So we know there are two types of Gits: free, public, free for both, sorry, public and private. While this DevOps is absolutely free for both the both of type repositories. In GitHub, the code versioning works slightly different, where we can also keep the versions on the server, and at the same time I can keep the versions on my local machines. I don't want to commit that change to the server. So DevOps provide linking between all the GitHub commits, pull request, and any issues or bugs related to any work item. At any given point of time, you can connect up to 250 GitHub repositories to an Azure board project. It's very huge number, but it's just to give you an insight how powerful is Azure DevOps and how that can be opt easily. Whatever technology you are using, whatever language you are using, you can have that in place for a successful project implementation. In next few minutes, I'm going to show you a quick demo on Azure DevOps, and let's try to relate whatever we discussed in last couple of minutes, how they look like in FNO in Azure DevOps, and park the ERP for time being. Let's try to relate with your routine development and see how that can help for your projects. If you are not using DevOps, you can subscribe for free account, and you can start using it, or you can start exploring it. Let's quickly let me open a demo for you. So this is my landing page of Azure DevOps. So if see you see the URL, the dev.azure.com is the URL. Post that, it's my organization name. Under organization, you can have multiple projects in it. So the Xepta is my organization name. Under that organization, I am having two projects for now. And whenever I hover to any project, you will see all the Azure services which are enabled on this server. You can see all the services here. It's absolutely based on the need of the project, how much or how many services is relevant to your project or you want to use it. So if I'll go to this project, on the left hand bar, you might seen all the components which we talked recently: boards, repos, pipelines, test plan, and artifacts. Before we jump into this, I would like to show you the project setting first. So in project setting, it will give me more details around the project. You will see the name, a short description, what process you used for this project, Scrum, Agile, whatever you used, and visibility. It's private because I don't want to access it by anyone. Only authorized users should have access to this one. And here you see all the components are available. So whatever component, whatever service you want to use, you can mark that on. If those are not relevant, you can simply remove those like this. Okay. So I'm not going to discuss around the test plan and artifacts. So I just removed both of them for now. Now, if I go back to my organization, here you see only Azure boards, repos, and pipelines are showing, while the other project is still showing all the five components, whether Azure boards, repos, pipelines, test plans, and artifacts. So let's go deep into this one now. Okay. So this dashboard will give you a very rich user interactive dashboard where you can literally see the overall health of your project or where it currently exists. You can take the actions right then and there. You can create a new work item. Yeah, it's highly customizable. If you want to remove it, you want to add a new one, you want to create a separate dashboard, everything can be done here. And you can also install new connectors here from the marketplace, which may help you to run your project more effectively. So I was telling you earlier, it will give you a graphical representation, how many items are in design, any to-dos, new items are created, closed item, ready, and committed change sets. In the left, if I'll go to board, the here boards. So this is the Kanban board where I can interact with my team members. I can assign them work. I can track them real time. If I'll give an example here, so let's take this one. So this is a work item where invoices needs to be print and it's unassigned. I can assign it to my team member. So currently there's only one member in this project. I'll assign it, and I can add a task here. Let's say send emails to, basically it should be like send emails to admin for the invoices. They can do it. So Deepak will get notification whenever there's a new task assigned to this particular work. Similarly, you can define sprints for the entire project. You can define to various sprints. Sprints, as I was mentioning earlier, is a small set of work for your entire project. So basically, you are dividing your project into multiple sprint or multiple phases, we can say. While the work item here, which give you the overall picture of open, close, or any new items here. So here you will see I just added a new item here. This is a type of task. Okay, and it's in to-do state, area part this one, activity on the 5th of Feb. You can go down to the further here and can define more details to it. So let's say it was, I'm not sure why it's not updated, but ideally it will give a name with what assigned state can be in progress. I can keep adding comments. I can mention people here, you see. So all my team members will appear here. I can mention them. I can seek their further feedback. I can ask for more details. I can give them information. All the things can be done here. This is again customizable where you define the priorities of this work. Any estimated time for this specific work can be done. And for the project manager, if this is something critical, he or she can make a follow here. So whenever there is any change made on this one, he or she will get a notification over the email, because every user provided their emails here, so they will get the notification for any update. On the right hand side, you will see all the related items to this task. And by the way, this number is a unique number, and it's not task wise or anything like that. It's a unique number for all the work items available under your project. If I'll go back to the project again, so we have few type of work items. In a very simple language, work items are defining category of those tasks, whether it's a development type of work, whether it's a bug, whether it's the requirement type of item. We can say FRD, functional requirement document, FDD, functional design document, whether it's about describing a feature which we recently got from a customer. Feature means they need this feature, so I can go here, create a feature type of item. I can describe all the things, and under a feature I can define multiple tasks to deliver that solution. Next, repo or repository. This is basically these are the different branches created under this Git repository. I can always create multiple repositories from here. I can switch the repositories. So in case there are multiple repositories are involved in your project implementation, you can simply come here. You can check what's the current state of each repository, what was the recent commit code, and you can see the history as well here. So you will get each check-in history will come here along with who checked in when and with the change check number. Further, if you click on this one, it will give you further details, what changes, what all objects was checked in as a part of the change set, and what was the change from the previous version. So anything in the green, that means new code. I'm not sure if there is any red. And anything which comes in a red means that code has been removed from the previous version. Here, I think that was more around the repos. If you want to see the details, although this was the same screen which we seen in the history, from the files, here the history, this screen and then this screen are the same. You will see what all commits was done recently, pushes, what new updates are there on a specific branches, pull requests. So typically everything is available related to your versioning of your code. Now, pipelines. This is very interesting. So, pipelines will automate your deployment process, not limited to just code related part, but it will also help you to automate your deployment with a wider range of services. For an example, I believe nowadays integration is very hot topic in the market. A lot of integrations are in demand user where user needs a different type of integration. So popularly known popular technologies are Azure Logic Apps, Power Automate, Power Platform. So all these things are available. API integrations, OData integrations. So these are available. So let's take a typical example. Let's assume in one of the project you created 100 logic apps for a development, for an integration purpose. And when you design those logic apps, you tested, everything's working fine. Now you want to promote those logic apps into UAT. So in typical scenario, you may need to go each logic app one by one, because for simplest logic apps, it's low code platform. Maybe we can separate around the logic apps on a separate session. It's a low code platform where you may not need to put any line of code, but still you are achieving your requirement. So to deploy that logic apps to another environment, you need to go one by one. There is no option to combine all the logic apps into a single piece and deploy to another environment. That's where these pipelines comes in the picture. So pipelines will help you to define your releases where all those 100 logic apps can be deployed with a very quicker time from one environment to another environment. So that's typical use of pipelines. All the remaining components are supportive component for the pipelines. For example, you talk about library. Here you define different variable groups. Variable groups are the small components which may have different values on the different environments. For an example, your URL or maybe your subscription ID, maybe the user in development, there could be a different user to configure. For the UAT and production, there could be a different user. All those needs to be defined here. And library, just to give a hint, not to confuse anyone, but library also tightly coupled with Azure Key Vault. That is again a part of Azure services to secure your sensitive data in with encryption. Okay, let's go back to, okay, that was more on the Azure DevOps. On the right top hand side, there are some shortcuts which help you to perform your activities fast. Here you can see all the work items which are assigned to the logged in user. And a pull request, you can mark any queries or favorites here, and they will appear here to access them very quickly. The next, the marketplace, where you can manage your existing extensions or you can get more extension to support your project. The next is your of course related to your users, which is logged in. You can make changes in the profile, time and local, permissions, themes, uses, all sort of typical user management thing. Towards the end, you will see who is logged in and the account management part of that one. That is more around the Azure DevOps demo. Okay. I hope by now you might be able to relate how Azure DevOps is a useful tool for any software development cycle, right? I totally understand if people who are looking at the first time, it might be looking very vast, a lot of component here and there. But trust me, guys, once you start using it, it will be far simpler and definitely make your life more easier, more less hectic, and more connected with your teammates. And that's where we are towards end of our session. I added few important links where you can learn more about DevOps, and feel free to reach out to me for any question you may have. My credentials are down in the bottom side. You can reach out to me over the LinkedIn, Twitter. You can drop a comment, and I would be more than happy to help you with that, or any question you may have, or how you can start with it with your development. Okay, so I would be more than happy to assist you on that. So with that, Anamik, I believe we can open for any question answer sessions for next couple of minutes.
Let's give them some. Hi, thank you very much. So we don't have the questions at the moment. Let's give them a minute or two to put in some questions, maybe.
Sure, sure. And guys,
Thank
it's totally fine. There is no stupid question, trust me.
you.
So
Right.
don't assume like if I'm asking this question, this might be not relevant. Feel absolutely free to feel absolutely free to ask any of the question. Leave that with me, whether it's relevant or not. I'll try to help you there. So feel free to put your question.
Yes. Anyone? Any question? I don't see any questions coming, Deepak. So I think
Either
we
I,
can.
either I was too awful or it was too straightforward.
No, 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 no. So no, it isn't that way. Most of the time, children are just too shy of putting up the questions. They must have
Yeah,
taken
yeah.
down, I'm sure, your Twitter and LinkedIn, so they are very quick in reaching out there for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I would more than happy to be part of their learning.
Right. Thank you very much. Then enjoy the rest of the evening. I'm pretty sure you haven't enjoyed your Saturday for sure. I am pretty sure you were working on this presentation.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
whatever we have left you with, thank you for
No, that's
that.
absolutely. It's always a pleasure to share our experience with other people, and yeah, it's great
Yeah.
experience. It's not like it's kind of investment rather than uh,
Right.
stopping you from enjoying your evening.
Thank you very much. That's very gracious of you to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Anamika, and thanks everyone.
Thanks.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much.